Is the sound working? Let's just confirm. All right. It is. Good. Good. All right. Paintbrush out. Backup paintbrush out. All right. So today we are going to paint 30 Brimstone Horrors, at least hopefully, in 30 minutes. So it is exactly 12:01 right now. So when it hits 12:02, I'll begin painting, and then at 12:32, hopefully we'll be done. We shall see. 6 colors is all I'm using on these guys. I'm also not doing the bases of these guys today. Still not sure what basing scheme is going to be on this army, but once I figure that out, I'll show that on a stream or in a video maybe. We'll see. But yeah, we're going to try to paint 30 Brimstone Horrors in 30 minutes. I think it's definitely possible. We're going to do some easy blending for the flame, and alright, there we go. 12:02. But yeah, we're going to do some easy blending for the flame using End in Yellow, Gryph-hound Orange, and Blood Angels Red. So, scoot these back. We're going to open all our paints at once. So that's what I like to do when I'm blending like this. We're going to make sure our paint stays open. I just bought this new End in Yellow the other day, but I accidentally left it in my car. So it got a little leaky. It was 100 degrees, but that's okay. Alright, so the process here is going to be take a brimstone. Actually, these need to be a little closer, I think. So it's going to be get a brimstone, yellow all over them. Just make sure that we get all the primer covered. These guys are primed with Wraithbone spray. So just make sure to get it completely covered in this yellow. And then, without even rinsing the brush, going to go into the orange and just where there are tips of fire, basically, I'll put that on those. So on the hands, on these these gouts of flame that are sticking up as like hair and just kind of all over the miniature. Doing them about like 2/3 of the way up those things. And then again, without rinsing, go to the red. And we're just going to find all the tips and do the same thing. Make sure to get both sides. Just like that. And there we go. Fire is done for one. Then we rinse the brush because our brush is all red now. And then back to the yellow. And repeat. There's 3 more colors after these colors. So we should have plenty of time, I hope. But by the time we get through all 30 with these first colors, the first one will be dry, and so we can add the next colors onto it. And you can mix it up and do like some of these brimstones be more orange, some be more red, some be very yellow. They don't have to all be uniform. They are demons made of fire after all. And the reason you want to do all 3 colors while they're wet like this is because if you let the yellow completely dry and then do the orange, you'll have very harsh lines between your yellow and orange, and that won't look very good. You want the colors to sort of mix together as you apply them, so you get nice transitions on the fire and not just lines of color. If you look super closely, even at these, even doing them wet, you'll still sometimes see some lines in a couple places, but not nearly as bad as if you were to put all these colors on after the paint was dry. Definitely going to have to pick up the pace based on what the clock is saying right now. Been going about 5 minutes and I'm just finishing the 5th now. So, no, that was the 4th. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to pick up the pace here. Gonna have to slather the yellow on a bit stronger, probably. Could use a bigger brush, but I don't actually have a bigger brush out right now. I started, when I came back from vacay, I started slowly organizing, reorganizing, and that meant unpacking very slowly because I was only unpacking stuff as I was organizing it. And I haven't actually gotten to the paintbrushes yet. I've just been using a couple of the same ones for everything. So all my other paintbrushes are still packed, and eventually I'll get to that. But for now, it's just going to be what it's going to be. If you wanted also to do a variation on this, but something that might still look cool, you could, instead of putting the red and the orange out towards the extremities, you could do the reverse and put them towards the center. It's not really how fire works. The tip of the fire is usually the least hot, and so it is therefore a darker color, but they're demons, so who cares? You can do all sorts of weird stuff with demons. Also, normally I would be using a paint handle, but the time that it would take to switch each one onto a paint handle would be prohibitive to this challenge, I think. So that's why I'm not using it. We've gotten 7 done in 8 minutes. Okay, so we're catching up. That's good. Finally got to see proper live. Thank you again for everything. Not a problem. Thank you for watching. And I'm glad my painting has been some use to you. This is probably not the most interesting one to catch live, but I appreciate the views either way. Your comment that you posted on the video earlier confused me, and then I realized, so I thought maybe you knew me in real life, and I guess you still might, since people use different names on YouTube. But I realized that the initials of my channel, Galactic Hammer GH, are the same initials as my real life name, Greg Hogan GH. So I was very confused for a moment, but from now on, I'm going to say that was on purpose, not an accident. The other thing that could be done with these brimstones is to make it so that the brightest spot on them is inside their mouth. Like the flame is coming from the inside of them. I'm doing the mouths dark on these guys, so I won't be doing that, but that would be another interesting way. And if you did that, you could almost blend them out to black at the extreme edges, like smoke or soot or something, so that they really had a deep contrast and looked like they were really hot on the inside. That was our 10th done right there. And it's been, hey, 10 minutes. Perfect. We're catching up. We need to be faster. We can't just do 10 in 10 minutes because we still have 3 other steps to do on each one. So this challenge may prove to be impossible, at least for me. And maybe with a bigger brush on the yellow it could be done. But that's okay. I'm gonna continue streaming as long as it takes to finish these 30 guys. My goal was 30 minutes, and 30 in 30. It's a nice round number. But if it ends up taking me 45, so be it. Just a coincidence, yeah. Didn't know your name until now. Well, there you go. Perfect. I'm gonna have to find some clever way to use that with the initials being the same. Not sure how I'll do that, but something to think about. Just gonna go a little lighter on the orange and the red on a couple of these. Just to mix them up, make them not all look identical. But I can already see that the ones we started with are dry enough that we could put the next steps on, so that's good. There we go. if you are doing this assembly line, always remember to rinse your brush after the red. I haven't made the mistake yet, but dipping the paintbrush with yellow on it into the orange, not really a big deal. Dipping the paintbrush with orange into the red, not a big deal. Dipping a paintbrush full of red into yellow, yeah, you'll see some problems arise with that. And I mean, some people would say that dipping the paintbrush with yellow and orange into the red is a problem, but it's not personally for me. I'm sure my yellow and my orange and my red are getting a little color shifted by the different pigments that I'm putting in it, but I don't mind. I don't need to have my horrors match, have an exact pigment match down to the science. So I do think that painting these guys with some blue flame would also be really cool. I don't know if I'd do like blue to orange, or if I would just do like white to light blue to dark blue, but either way I think would look pretty cool. I don't actually know how you would blend that. I don't know if it's possible to blend white or yellow to blue without getting green. I guess maybe it's possible with, like, you could do a stipple pattern, wait for your first one to dry, and then do a very, very precise stipple pattern to blend them. I assume you can't wet blend them, though. If you're just trying to get a gradient of yellow to blue, I assume you'll always come up with green if you try that, so maybe there's a way that I'm unaware of. We're 16 minutes in, and we've done 16. All right, this is 17. So looks like we'll be able to get the fire done in this 30 minutes. We will not be able to get the next steps done, which is okay. Still gonna do those steps, assuming my camera doesn't run out of batteries, which it shouldn't. But I say my camera every time. It's just my phone. Assuming my phone doesn't run out of batteries or battery power. I told myself when I started this YouTube channel that I would endeavor to not spend any money on it. Unless, for some reason, it began making me money. If it makes me money, fine, happy to do it. But otherwise, I'm just gonna use the technology that is already available to me and see what we can do with that. Gotcha, Reinvented Modeler. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate the watching, and it is good to meet you. Okay, I think this is 18 done here. 12 to go, possibly. Oh, almost forgot orange on this side. There we go. And the other good thing about these guys is that they'll be so lost in an army that no one will ever look super closely at your Brimstone Horrors. There'll be so many other things going on. They'll only be coming on most likely when your pinks are dying, or when your blues are dying more specifically, but no one's going to be looking too closely. So if you get some wacky looking blends or something, probably not a big deal. And even though these are part of a commission, that's really the reason I'm willing to still just breeze through them like this, because they're such a small part of the army that... And also the commission is tabletop standard, not anything crazy, so... I don't even know what I would do. I'm sure there are many people who have done it, but I don't even know what I would do if I was tasked with painting a commission army full of Brimstone Horrors to display quality. I don't think I could do it. Or I would just quote a cost, a price so prohibitive that no one would ever accept. Because it would just take forever. Eight more after this guy. Getting there. Oh, almost forgot the red on that guy. The other slight problem with leaving your paints open this long like I am is that the paint in the top of the cap will dry out. But with contrast paint, that's not the end of the world, at least for me, because there's so little in there. Most of the paint stays in the pot itself. But if that was a problem, you didn't like that idea, several things you could do. You could add a little bit of flow improver to your paint, just straight into the pot, so that it took a little while to dry. You could also paint these in smaller batches, so instead of painting all 30 at once, you could paint 5 at once and then close your paint and go on to the next ones. But again, for contrast paint especially, the little cap part drying out is not the end of the world. Something I need to be careful of, because I can see a couple spots of it on this base here, is that you shouldn't paint over your models, especially when you're painting with inks like this, because if you splatter color onto them, that can be bad. Not a huge deal in this case, because of the colors I'm using, and because the whole miniature is these colors right now. But if you're like null oiling something and you've got a nice fully painted like white armor behind them, that could be bad. So we're 7 minutes away from 30 minutes. Not going to be able to finish, unfortunately, in the allotted goal, but that's okay. Now it becomes, how fast can we finish them? I'm hopeful that 45 minutes is doable, but we'll see. I mean, I was hopeful that 30 minutes was doable. Now that that seems unattainable, I'm going to go for 45. Gonna do this guy very sparingly with the orange and the yellow, or orange and red, and make him be quite yellow, just to mix it up. Why not? There we go. No harm in that. 4 more to go in terms of the fire. Woo! Almost knocked my pot of paint over. That would have sucked. But I didn't. I caught it. I should probably have these in the little non-tippy over thingies, but I don't. Especially in this situation, I should, when I'm not changing paints often. I just have the same 3 paints open for 30 minutes. I should really take some more care to make sure that I don't tip them over. But we're almost done now, so. Two more. We've got 4 minutes left of our initial goal. But knowing what steps we have left, we will not be able to finish in that time. Oh, I forgot the red on him. Alright, last one for the fire. Alright, and orange. And red. Alright, so there's our 30 done for their fire anyway. And close up these paints. Put them off to the side. Figure out why this one doesn't want to close. That's better. Alright, so now we're moving on to Leviathan Blue. And this is going to be for their mouths and their eyes. So, the task now is to find the ones that are relatively dry. And do those first. So we're looking at these sort of ones. So all we're going to do is just find their mouth and put that in like that. If they have a bit of paint's still in their mouth that isn't dry, that's fine. Not a big deal. And then we're just going to dot the eyes. If the dot of paint gets bigger than the eyes, that's okay. Not an issue. Again, in the mouth. And then the eyes. Do note, if you're painting these, that some of them are cyclopses apparently. That one only had one eye. And if you get some of this on the teeth, it's not a big deal, because we're going to come back and paint the teeth in a minute. That's going to be our last step. No, second to last step will be teeth painting. Ooh, that one's still pretty wet. Let's find some dry ones here. Still a little wet. These don't have to be perfect, as I've said now a couple times, just because of the nature of Brimstone Horrors, but yes, we have officially hit our time limit of 30 minutes, and we have 2 colors to go on 8 of them, 3 colors to go on 22 of them, so we have certainly missed the goal of 30 minutes, but that's okay. We're shooting for 45 minutes now. Trying to pick out ones that are more dry than the others. Their mouth is already going to be a spot where wet paint will collect for a little while, so not much we can do about that. I mean, we could go through with a dry paintbrush and wick that out of there, but I think it's easier to just put the paint right in on top of it, and when it dries, it dries. As long as the mouth ends up being darker than the flame, that's all that's important. Now I'm curious if there are others that are cyclopses. I only saw that one. There have to be at least 3 because it's 3 identical kits. So there have to be at least 2 more cyclopses. Unless there was one in the other. No, this is 3 full sets, yeah. There has to be. Oh, I see one right here. Boom. See if I can find the last one real quick in that same pose. Oh, here's a cyclops in a different pose. So that's confusing. I guess there are multiple cyclopses. Is the plural of cyclops cyclopses? Or is it like cyclopoi? No idea. No idea. Oof, he's still quite a bit wet. Oh, another Cyclops. Eight to go, including this one I have here in my hand. Five to go. I was going to say six, but it's only five. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, it's okay if the dot of paint on the eyes is bigger than the actual sculpted eyes, because they'll read better from farther away with bigger eyes. So from 3 feet looking at the table, they'll read better as having faces. And the last two guys are Cyclopses. Or the last two bases have a Cyclops on them. Alright. Fourth step done, and we're at 36 minutes. Not bad, not bad. So now, we're going to go on to Rakarth Flesh. This is going to be for the teeth. So I'm going to start over here where hopefully some of our paint is the driest, and we're just going to put this on the teeth. Doesn't have to be an exact science here, just roughly where the teeth are. That's where this paint's going to go. Is that 7 done? Eight. Nine. There's 10. 1/3 of the way done. We've been painting for 38 minutes now. We're going to be very close to our 45-minute goal, but I don't know how close. The only other step we have to do after this is to add some Nuln Oil to the teeth and to the mouth area in general. That will help darken the blue that we put on and help shade the teeth a little bit so they're not so bright. There's 15 done, halfway done with this step. Here's our 20th done. 2/3 of the way. 10 to go, and then the last step. Oh, didn't do the other mouth on this one. But yeah, putting the Nuln Oil on after this allows us also to be messier. And we can just paint like the whole line of teeth, and then that Nuln Oil will come in and give definition between each tooth. And on this step, because these two steps I'm doing are concurrent, meaning by concurrent I mean that they're both being applied to the same piece of the model, I'm putting them in order that I did them, so I can start with exactly the first one, which has had the most time to dry. If I'm doing batch painting like this and the steps are not concurrent, so say I'm painting a bunch of swords and then the next step is a bunch of belts or something, those two paints are not going to come in contact with each other, so I don't need to go in the exact order I did before. But when two paints are going directly on top of one another, you want to start with the one that you did originally so that it's had the most time to dry. Alright, so there's that done. 42 minutes we've been painting, and we're on to our last step, Nuln Oil. So we're going to, like I said, start with the one that we started with here. And we're just going to put this around the face, around the teeth, just like that. Of course, now the order doesn't matter because this is our last step. We're done. And I'm aiming for the teeth, but if this Nuln Oil gets around the face in general, that's okay. It'll just look like maybe some smoke or something, part of these demons. Not a big deal. But I want to make sure that I get it on the teeth so that we get that nice definition between each one. If we get Nuln Oil like under the lower jaw, that is a great place to have it be also. Gives nice definition of the face. You know, normally we like to have the face of our miniature be the brightest area, or at least be a bright area, so that the viewer's face or eyes are drawn to it. But when our whole miniature is bright like this, making the face the darkest spot is not necessarily a bad thing, because it'll contrast so heavily that it will still draw the eye. And if it doesn't draw the eye, if the eye is drawn everywhere else, that works too, because they're flame monsters. Kind of want the flame to be the main attraction. Almost done. Coming up on the finish line here. Haven't looked at the clock in a second. I think we've probably passed 45 minutes, but not by too much. 30 models in under an hour will definitely be a claim that we can make. But I'll look at the exact time as soon as I'm done here. After this guy, I've got 7 more here. Three more. Two more. One more. Last one to go. Alright, and there it is. So it was 46 minutes of painting that this took. The video is a little longer, or the stream is a little longer, because we didn't start painting immediately. But 46 minutes of actual painting. Just going to get them all in a pile here so we can see them all together. Making sure they're all on screen. We get a piece of dog hair on one of them. Get that off of there. Alrighty. So there we have it. 30 Brimstone Horrors in 46 minutes. I'll take it. I will take it. So that'll do it for this episode. I'll be back next week. I think the Olympics end this weekend, so I'll be back next week on Monday and Wednesday, back to our original times at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Is that what we're in right now? Hopefully the new Stormcast and Cruel Boy stuff will start coming out, so I can start making videos again. I really only like to make the tutorial videos on new stuff, just because of my enjoyment level for it. I like making stuff, like making videos on things I've never painted before, and new stuff certainly fits that bill. Streams will continue though, with probably some more Zinch stuff, maybe some Nurgle stuff. I've been working on some Nurgle things, so we'll see. But thank you everybody for watching, whether you watched live or are watching sometime in the future. I appreciate it either way, and I will see you next